Welcome back into the Bangtan Universe wormhole. I'm your host Karen, and I'm here for the first time in a couple of months. I have been using the summer to make posts in the post tab rather than making videos, since the guys aren't giving us any new material right now to speak of. I mean, we've got a bit, and the reason I'm making this video entry today is that now we've accumulated enough stuff that I can gather together, add in a little bit more, and have enough for a decent video. So that's why I'm here today. I've got my handy dandy news prompter, and I'm going to put it all together for you. First, let me give a welcome to the newbies who've come in since I was making videos. We're glad to have you here. I know that some of you came in as a result of my being on the Borahay.com podcast that's run by Amanda. And she's got her own YouTube channel, and I'll post that below. I'll give you the link to my podcast guest appearance there. I've got to be honest, the reason why I haven't shared that before is I was a little embarrassed about my behavior toward the end of that podcast. Amanda and I started out just talking, interviews, chatting, that sort of thing. And then we started playing games. Now, bear in mind, these were the kinds of games that we're not supposed to have a winner. They're just back and forth things to do for fun. But I get a real strong competitive streak, and I can be kind of cocky, which I hope I haven't done here, but I did it on her podcast. And I am now embarrassed at my behavior. And so I apologized to Amanda. She said it was okay. She said it wasn't that bad. I still wasn't sure whether I should post a link here for you to see me on the podcast or not, but I also asked Q about that, and she said, yeah, I should go ahead and just, again, make clear this was not my best moment. So it's out there for you. I think that overall it was a good time for both of us until things got a little bit janky at the end. So you will enjoy it. I'll post the link in the description below. As for the newbies, besides welcoming you, I also want to answer a question that I've seen from some of you. And I know that if some people are asking it, more people are thinking it and just not posting. So I'm still getting people that say they're not sure that the BU is coming back, or that they really don't think the BU is coming back. I want to use this as an opportunity to let you know why we're sure that the BU is coming back. And I'm not going to take too long about this because, as you can see, we've got a bunch of videos that'll give you all the details. Right here, I'm going to tell you just enough to let you know that we have good reason for thinking this. And that good reason, in the short version, is that there are just too many loose threads to stop it right here. There's the great big one that ended notes 2, HYH, the notes 2, with Jungkook in someplace we don't even know where he is or when he is. I'm tempted to say, or why he is. You get it or you don't. But anyway, we don't know where he is, but we know he's in a real bad headspace, so we can't just leave it there. And so much work has gone into the BU up to this point that nobody would stop it now. The writers, Big Hit, BTS, I don't know how much involvement they have at this point, but there's too much work in there. And on top of that, there are the secrets in the mini books. You may not know about these, so I'll explain that briefly. I'm going to touch on those secrets again at the end of the video anyway. So here's the deal. When you have a chance to buy a physical copy of a BTS album, you normally have 4 versions to choose from. And each of those versions contains a mini book, which has some extra entries from the BU log. The BU is written in a series of what seem like diary entries from all the guys. So we've got 4 sets of possible mini books, and they're almost identical across the 4, but each mini book from each of the 4 has at least a couple of entries that are unique to that mini book. Let's say there are 4 versions of Map of the Soul, you buy version 1. Your mini book is going to have 1 or 2 or 3 entries that aren't in versions 2, 3, and 4. So these secret little extra mini book entries are very important, every one of them. 2 of them I can tell you in particular refer to something in the BU that has not happened yet. It's very mysterious, and we think it's going to happen in the next era of the BU. One of those takes us back in time to when Taeyong is a little boy. This is long before the guys have met up in the storeroom and become friends. Taeyang is a little boy playing with somebody else's dog, and he meets another slightly older boy who introduces himself as Kim Seok-jin. So what is Seok-jin doing so far in the past, meeting Taeyang, when supposedly they don't know each other until they meet in the storage room? Well, remember that Seok-jin time travels, so he could have gone back into the past to do that, but why? And that connects to everything that was going on at the end of HYYH, the Notes Book 2. It's sort of the same with the other mini book secret entry, but I also need to tell you about this one because, again, I'm going to come back to this at the end of the video. Namjoon has an entry that takes place when he's in his teens at some point before he meets the other guys, and he comes home late from work one night. The house is empty and dark, and he hears the phone ring and feels a chill, and he thinks to himself, if I answer the phone, my whole life is going to change. But he answers it anyway. And that's where that note ends. We don't know who's on the other end, but I'd be willing to bet it's Seok-jin. I'd be willing to bet that Seok-jin is going into the past and contacting each of his friends at some point before they knew him. And he's doing it because this is the only way he sees to get them to coordinate and deal with whatever they're going to have to deal with in the next era. We've made predictions about that, and you can see them all in one of the playlists that we have on this channel. So I'll let you look at those if you haven't seen them yet. Trust me, they are very important if you want to know what we think is going to happen. And we're pretty darn sure we have it right. So check into that if you can. Moving on, I want to let you know that YouTube has made a change to the videos that it hosts. And I, for one, did not find out about this until very recently. What used to be the case was if somebody made a comment below one of our videos, we would get an email notification saying, here's a comment, click if you want to see it. And that made it very quick and easy for us to respond to all comments in a timely manner, less than 24 hours. But YouTube did away with that function. And so that means that we don't have any way of knowing that somebody's made a comment unless we go deep into our settings and look in the right place to see if there are comments. I apologize for what's going on in the background. My cats have the zoomies. This is going to be a rather long video, so I can't afford to keep stopping it and starting it. I'll just increase the volume of my voice when necessary to make it clear. And of course, there will always be subtitles. Okay, so what I wanted to say was that YouTube is no longer notifying us when we get comments. But I have started I've got a recurring notice to myself in my Outlook program to let me know each day at a certain time to go and check our inner workings of our channel and see if I have new comments. So that should allow me to keep on top of the comments that y'all are making. I do need to apologize again to one person who seemed to be a new visitor who made comments. It's been about a month and a half ago now, and I didn't see her comments because this change had already taken place, and so she probably felt like I hadn't seen them, and I hadn't seen her comments at that point. When I did see them, I responded. I don't know if she's seen my response. I don't know if she's come back. I am sorry it happened, and I hope it won't happen again. Moving on to the next thing, let's talk about the latest hints that BTS have given us about the BU and the fact that yes, it is returning. First of all, here's something that goes all the way back to 2023, and Q and I only noticed it about a year ago, which still would have given us plenty of time to tell you about it, but we forgot to tell you. This one was very deeply hidden, and we had so much else going on that we told you everything except this. So let me set the scene. This is Festa 2023. And RM is in the park talking to everybody live who are in the park there with him. And he's running a sort of little radio show. And when the camera zooms in on him sitting up there at the desk, look at what's on the shelf behind him. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, moving on. We know that all of the guys are now fashion ambassadors for various brands. All of them are advertising clothing lines. Some of them are advertising other things as well. And we know that Hobie is advertising a watch brand called Audemars Piguet. And this is a picture from his advertisement campaign. You can see that he's got a telescope there. A telescope is one of the big symbols that we've got in the BU. And we see different guys holding telescopes, but Hobie is the one that has the telescope most often. And that relates to his role as the Mystic Navigator, which we explained in our video about the season's greetings from 2022. So check that out, and you'll see why telescopes are important, especially to him, and why it's interesting that we see one here in this ad. Also, while we're looking at Hobie's picture, check the ground. You'll see a few Smeraldos. And speaking of Smeraldos, look at this picture that RM posted on his Instagram account. See these little blue flowers that are hidden behind that big bush? I thought those were Smeraldas, but I wasn't sure, so I checked with my aunt, who is a really great gardener. I mean, really, you should see her house. And I just wanted to make sure that those were not anything natural, any sort of natural plant growth back there. And she said no. So they are definitely Smeraldos. Somebody, RM or some staff member that was with him, stuck those back there to sort of give us a little Easter egg. I was going to say to mess with our minds, but that kind of goes along with the Easter eggs, doesn't it? Okay, next let's go on to all the butterflies we've been seeing lately. Hope on the Stage. If you saw that either in person, in which case good for you, or if you saw that at the movie theater like I did, you might have noticed that when he sang On the Street, at the end we saw J-Hope written in big letters on the back screen, and it dissolved into butterflies. I can't show you that. I don't have any way to, but it was there, trust me. And I do at least have this image to give you a hint. At the same time, when he had Hope on the Stage, where he had the other members come out, take a look at what Jen's wearing. On his jeans are a bunch of butterflies. And we also see RM wearing the same pattern. It looks like the same brand must have made both jeans and shirts. And this picture of RM is from his Instagram account. He's been dropping a lot of things there. He always drops all kinds of hints in his Instagram account. So stay on top of that. So we've got Jen and RM wearing the same brand, the same material with butterflies on it. And as if that wasn't enough, Weverse also dropped a bunch of merchandise that has butterflies all over it. And here are some pictures of that. As you can see, they've even scattered the background with more butterflies. And the biggest hint I saved for last, and that is the latest season of the cartoon BT21. I know not everybody follows that. You don't need to follow it most times. But right now, that particular season, you should watch BT21. The Journey is all about the BU past and present. And you'll see what I mean when you watch. Either you can watch the little cartoons themselves, or you can just watch my video for the short version. But you'll see they're chock full of Easter eggs. Now, let me say a word about calendars. Last year, if you bought the official BTS calendar, you saw that it was full of photo shoots from the Oh Are You Late 2 album. We've got War of Hormone images, we've got Boy with Love images, and that goes along with this clip, which I'm about to play for you, in which RM says basically that everything's being rebooted. Watch this.
안 나오냐 뒤에? 노멀 드림은 뭐야? 드림 is come true. 자, 노멀 드림이 드림으로 바뀐 게 뭔가 이제 사실 저희가 이게 리부트 아닙니까? 그러니까. 그래서 노멀 드림이 사실 이제 꿈 꾸지 마 약간 이런 거였잖아요. 하지만 다시 꿈꾸라로 바꾸는 거 아닐까요? 그러니까.
Okay, keep that in mind because I'm going to say more about the reboot later on in the video. But right now, this idea of a reboot goes right along with the idea of BTS putting out a new calendar for 2025 showing pictures from Oh Are You Late 2. That very title, Oh Are You Late 2, sets up the BU, doesn't it? Because the guys all met when they were late and they met in detention. Oh, are you late too? Yeah, let's stop. So that matches. And think about this. If that calendar was a reminder of the reboot, then what should come next after Oh, Are You Late Too? we should see a new calendar come out anytime now for 2026. And that new calendar should have to do with HYYH. There are a bunch of photo shoots to choose from for that. If we get an HYYH centered calendar next year, that will prove 110% that the BU is coming back. But even if we don't get a calendar like that, Q and I know for sure. And I think that our regular followers know for sure too. I've already told you why. There are just too many loose threads. We've got to tie them up somehow and keep going, probably. But there is a chance that we may not get a calendar next year since the guys were in the military. Okay, moving on. Now let's talk about the crowns. I didn't make a video about this earlier because I'm not 100% sure that it's going to relate to the BU. But since I'm doing this new segment and since there's a possibility it could relate to the BU, let's go ahead and cover it now. The main two things that have to deal with crowns are, first of all, we had Taeyong post this image of a crown, and he was encouraging RM and Jin to fight over who had the right to wear the crown. And Tae also posted something on his Instagram account that made some people think he's getting a tattoo that looks like this. Now, he does seem to have gotten a tattoo since he was at the tattoo parlor on a day when Hobie was not. Why else would he have gone there except to get a tattoo? But we can't be sure it was that one. But this image that he posted is important for another reason. Now, you may think that this is a picture of Christopher Robin because there's a little poo down in the corner. But that poo was added later, as you can see if you look closely. It's not drawn in the same way. And actually, this picture, even though it's done by the artist who did the Winnie the Pooh illustrations, is connected to a poem that's called If I Were King. So we've got kings and crowns. And that makes sense because of the RM live stream that he did recently, where he did this.
Yeah, lots of burdens, heavy is the crown. Do you want to be the king?
Did you notice his regular cadence and the way he bobbed his head and waited in between the first and second lines? Doesn't it look like he's got a song in mind? It's like he's already got the song finished and it's going to be on the next album. So yes, I'm expecting something on the album that has to do with kings and crowns. I don't know exactly what it'll be, but it will definitely include a rap part. It could be a cipher. Q and I are certainly hoping for a cipher, especially about a certain subject that I won't mention here. But we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, the crown also might have to do with Dionysus because Dionysus is going to be a big part of the BU next year or next era. We don't know exactly what he's going to be doing. The plans for him might have changed since originally, before COVID happened, all of this stuff was scheduled to come out much earlier. The guys have surely changed their plans to some extent, but we don't know how much yet. But we saw Dionysus performed at the MMA and the MAMA at the end of the 2019 year. And whatever the guys performed during those shows at the end of the year, those are always really significant songs and performances that relate to the BU. And in the case of kings and crowns, well, Dionysus is a king. He has a crown. Now, his crown is ivy, so that would not be a heavy crown. But his wife Ariadne was a princess who had a crown, which Dionysus, for some reason, tossed into the sky, and it became a constellation that's called the Crown, and it has 7 stars. So a crown of stars would be very heavy, and 7 fits BTS. So you see how it might connect, at least in a song. I'm still not sure how it's going to connect to the BU. We won't know that until we actually see and hear about the next era of the BU. And at least part of what we see in here is going to come from the notes. It's not going to all be in MVs. The guys aren't the same age they were, so they can't play teenagers anymore. Okay, so now it's time for the final thing, my prediction about the name of the new title track for the new album. let's go back to the idea that I showed you here about the reboot.
노멀 드림은 뭐야? 드림 is come true. 자, 노멀 드림이 드림으로 바뀐 게 뭔가 이제 사실 저희가 이게 리부트 아닙니까? 그러니까. 그래서 노멀 드림이 사실 이제 꿈.
And now let's think about how the BU is being rebooted and how the calendars have been rebooted. And now think about the fact that BTS's very first single was called No More Dream. So I believe that the new title track of the new album is going to be Dream. And I think that that might even be the title of the album as well. Or if Dream isn't the title, possibly even Butterfly Dream, which is the title of a very famous poem. We'll see. And one other thing I told you to remember was those two mini book entries, the ones about Namjoon getting the strange phone call and Taehyung meeting Seokjin way too early. Those could be part of a reboot too. If the BU is being rebooted, how would it be rebooted? Normally, when Seokjin has to break out of a timeline and start a new timeline, he goes back to a certain day in his 22nd year. But this is going to be a genuine reboot of the whole BU. He's going to go back way beyond when he met the boys. He's going to time travel back to a time that he's never explored before and try to make some essential changes. That's why that's going to be a reboot. So that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching with me and for listening. Please tell me your thoughts on all of this. Tell me if you think I've got the title right. Tell me if you think I'm right about the reboot and if you have any other ideas about the reboot. Let's talk about the crown, the merchandise, anything else. And thanks again. Bye-bye and Apo Bangpo.